courses, by which he prepared himself as a corporation lawyer. Despite the fact the Depression had not ended, he completed his training, passed the bar examination, and quickly built a lucrative law practice in Dallas, Texas. In fact, he is turning away clients. Just to keep the record straight, and to anticipate the alibis of those who will say, "I couldn't go to school because I have a family to support," or "I'm too old," I will add the information that Mr. Weir was past 40 and married when he went back to school. Moreover, by carefully selecting highly specialized courses in colleges best prepared to teach the subjects chosen, Mr. Weir completed in 2 years the work for which the majority of law students require 4 years. It pays to know how to purchase knowledge. The person who stops studying merely because he has finished school is forever hopelessly doomed to mediocrity, no matter what may be his calling. The way of success is the way of continuous pursuit of knowledge. Let us consider a specific instance. During the Depression, a salesman in a grocery store found himself without a position. Having had some bookkeeping experience, he took a special course in accounting, familiarized himself with all the latest bookkeeping and office equipment, and went into business for himself. Starting with the grocer for whom he had formerly worked, he made contracts with more than 100 small merchants to keep their books, at a very nominal monthly fee. His idea was so practical that he soon found it necessary to set up a portable office in a light delivery truck, which he equipped with modern bookkeeping machinery. He now has a fleet of these bookkeeping offices on wheels and employs a large staff of assistants, thus providing small merchants with accounting service equal to the best that money can buy at very nominal cost. Specialized knowledge plus imagination were the ingredients that went into this unique and successful business. Last year, the owner of that business paid an income tax of almost 10 times as much as was paid by the merchant for whom he worked when the Depression forced upon him
Today there is
a
some
temporary adversity which proved to be a blessing in disguise. The beginning of this successful business was an idea. Inasmuch as I had the privilege of supplying the unemployed salesman with that idea, I now assume the further privilege of suggesting another idea, which has within it the possibility of even greater income. Also the possibility of rendering useful service to thousands of people who badly need that service. The idea was suggested by the salesman who gave up selling and went into the business of keeping books on a wholesale basis. When the plan was suggested as a solution to his unemployment problem, he quickly exclaimed, "I like the idea, but I would not know how to turn it into cash." In other words, he complained he would not know how to market his bookkeeping knowledge after he acquired it. So that brought up another problem which had to be solved. With the aid of a young woman typist, clever at hand lettering, and who could put the story together, a very attractive book was prepared, describing the advantages of the new system of bookkeeping. The pages were neatly typed and pasted in an ordinary scrapbook, which was used as a silent salesman, with which the story of this new business was so effectively told that its owner soon had more accounts than he could handle. There are thousands of people all over the country who need the services of a merchandising specialist, capable of preparing an attractive brief for use in marketing personal services. The aggregate annual income from such a service might easily exceed that received by the largest employment agency, and the benefits of the service might be made far greater to the purchaser than any to be obtained from an employment agency. The idea here described was born of necessity, to bridge an emergency which had to be covered, but it did not stop by merely serving one person. The woman who created the idea has a keen imagination. She saw in her newly born brainchild the making of a new profession, one that is destined to render valuable service to thousands of people who need practical guidance in marketing personal services. Spurred to action by the instantaneous success of her first prepared plan to market personal services, this energetic woman turned next to the solution of a similar problem for her son who had just finished college, but had been totally unable to find a market for his services. The plan she originated for his use was the finest specimen of merchandising of personal services I have ever seen. When the plan book had been completed, it contained nearly 50 pages of beautifully typed, properly organized information, telling the story of her son's native ability, schooling, personal experiences, and a great variety of other information too extensive for description. The plan book also contained a complete description of the position her son desired, together with a marvelous word picture of the exact plan he would use in filling the position. The preparation of the plan book required several weeks' labor, during which time its creator sent her son to the public library almost daily to procure data needed in selling his services to best advantage. She sent him also to all the competitors of his prospective employer, and gathered from them vital information concerning their business methods, which was of great value in the formation of the plan he intended to use in filling the position he sought. When the plan had been finished, it contained more than a half a dozen very fine suggestions for the use and benefit of the prospective employer. The suggestions were put into use by the company. One may be inclined to ask, why go to all this trouble to secure a job? The answer is straight to the point. Also, it is dramatic, because it deals with a subject which assumes the proportion of a tragedy with millions of men and women whose sole source of income is personal services. The answer is, doing a thing well never is trouble. The plan prepared by this woman for the benefit of her son helped him get the job for which he applied at the first interview, at a salary fixed by himself. Moreover, and this too is important, the position did not require the young man to start at the bottom. He began as a junior executive, at an executive salary. Why go to all this trouble, do you ask? Well, for one thing, the planned presentation of this young man's application for a position clipped off no less than 10 years of time he would have required to get to where he began, had he started at the bottom and worked his way up. This idea of starting at the bottom and working one's way up may appear to be sound, but the major objection to it is this. Too many of those who begin at the bottom never manage to lift their heads high enough to be seen by opportunity, so they remain at the bottom. It should be remembered also that the outlook from the bottom is not so very bright or encouraging. It has a tendency to kill off ambition. We call it getting into a rut, which means that we accept our fate because we form the habit of daily routine, a habit that finally becomes so strong we cease to try to throw it off. And that is another reason why it pays to start 1 or 2 steps above the bottom. By so doing, one forms the habit of looking around, of observing how others get ahead, of seeing opportunity, and of embracing it without hesitation. Dan Halpin is a splendid example of what I mean. During his college days, he was manager of the famous 1930 national championship Notre Dame football team, when it was under the direction of the late Knute Rockne. Perhaps he was inspired by the great football coach to aim high and not mistake temporary defeat for failure, just as Andrew Carnegie, the great industrial leader, inspired his young business lieutenants to set high goals for themselves. At any rate, young Halpin finished college at a mighty unfavorable time, when the Depression had made jobs scarce. So after a fling at investment banking and motion pictures, he took the first opening with a potential future he could find, selling electrical hearing aids on a commission basis. Anyone could start in that sort of job, and Halpin knew it, but it was enough to open the door of opportunity to him. For almost 2 years, he continued in a job not to his liking, and he would never have risen above that job if he had not done something about his dissatisfaction. He aimed first at the job of assistant sales manager of his company, and got the job. That one step upward placed him high enough above the crowd to enable him to see still greater opportunity. Also, it placed him where opportunity could see him. He made such a fine record selling hearing aids that A.M. Andrews, chairman of the board of the Dictograph Products Company, a business competitor of the company for which Halpin worked, wanted to know something about that man Dan Halpin, who was taking big sales away from the long-established Dictograph company. He sent for Halpin. When the interview was over, Halpin was the new sales manager in charge of the Acousticon division. Then, to test young Halpin's mettle, Mr. Andrews went away to Florida for 3 months, leaving him to sink or swim in his new job. He did not sink. Knute Rockne's spirit of all the world loves a winner and has no time for a loser inspired him to put so much into his job that he was recently elected vice president of the company and general manager of the Acousticon and Silent Radio division, a job which most men would be proud to earn through 10 years of loyal effort. Halpin turned the trick in little more than 6 months. It is difficult to say whether Mr. Andrews or Mr. Halpin is more deserving of eulogy, for the reason that both showed evidence of having an abundance of that very rare quality known as imagination. Mr. Andrews deserves credit for seeing in young Halpin a go-getter of the highest order. Halpin deserves credit for refusing to compromise with life by accepting and keeping a job he did not want. And that is one of the major points I am trying to emphasize through this entire philosophy, that we rise to high positions or remain at the bottom because of conditions we can control if we desire to control them. I am also trying to emphasize another point, namely that both success and failure are largely the results of habit. I have not the slightest doubt that Dan Halpin's close association with the greatest football coach America ever knew planted in his mind the same brand of desire to excel which made the Notre Dame football team world famous. Truly, there is something to the idea that hero worship is helpful, provided one worships a winner. Halpin tells me that Rockne was one of the world's greatest leaders of men in all history. My belief in the theory that business associations are vital factors, both in failure and in success, was recently demonstrated when my son Blair was negotiating with Dan Halpin for a position. Mr. Halpin offered him a beginning salary of about 1/2 what he could have gotten from a rival company. I brought parental pressure to bear and induced him to accept the place with Mr. Halpin because I believe that close association with one who refuses to compromise with circumstances he does not like is an asset that can never be measured in terms of money. The bottom is a monotonous, dreary, unprofitable place for any person. That is why I have taken the time to describe how lowly beginnings may be circumvented by proper planning. Also, that is why so much space has been devoted to a description of this new profession, created by a woman who was inspired to do a fine job of planning because she wanted her son to have a favorable break. With the changed conditions ushered in by the world economic collapse, came also the need for newer and better ways of marketing personal services. It is hard to determine why someone had not previously discovered this stupendous need, in view of the fact that more money changes hands in return for personal services than for any other purpose. The sum paid out monthly to people who work for wages and salaries is so huge that it runs into hundreds of millions, and the annual distribution amounts to billions. Perhaps some will find, in the idea here briefly described, the nucleus of the riches they desire. Ideas with much less merit have been the seedlings from which great fortunes have grown. Woolworth's 5 and 10 cent store idea, for example, had far less merit, but it piled up a fortune for its creator. Those seeing opportunity lurking in this suggestion will find valuable aid in the chapter on organized planning. Incidentally, an efficient merchandiser of personal services would find a growing demand for his services wherever there are men and women who seek better markets for their services. By applying the mastermind principle, a few people with suitable talent could form an alliance and have a paying business very quickly. One would need to be a fair writer, with a flair for advertising and selling, one handy at typing and hand lettering, and one should be a first-class business getter who would let the world know about the service. If one person possessed all these abilities, he might carry on the business alone, until it outgrew him. The woman who prepared the personal service sales plan for her son now receives requests from all parts of the country for her cooperation in preparing similar plans for others who desire to market their personal services for more money. She has a staff of expert typists, artists, and writers who have the ability to dramatize the case histories so effectively that one's personal services can be marketed for much more money than the prevailing wages for similar services. She is so confident of her ability that she accepts, as the major portion of her fee, a percentage of the increased pay she helps her clients to earn. It must not be supposed that her plan merely consists of clever salesmanship, by which she helps men and women to demand and receive more money for the same services they formerly sold for less pay. She looks after the interests of the purchaser as well as the seller of personal services, and so prepares her plans that the employer receives full value for the additional money he pays. The method by which she accomplishes this astonishing result is a professional secret, which she discloses to no one excepting her own clients. If you have the imagination and seek a more profitable outlet for your personal services, this suggestion may be the stimulus for which you have been searching. The idea is capable of yielding an income far greater than that of the average doctor, lawyer, or engineer, whose education required several years in college. The idea is saleable to those seeking new positions, in practically all positions calling for managerial or executive ability, and those desiring rearrangement of incomes in their present positions. There is no fixed price for sound ideas. Back of all ideas is specialized knowledge. Unfortunately, for those who do not find riches in abundance, specialized knowledge is more abundant and more easily acquired than ideas. Because of this very truth, there is a universal demand and an ever-increasing opportunity for the person capable of helping men and women to sell their personal services advantageously. Capability means imagination, the one quality needed to combine specialized knowledge with ideas, in the form of organized plans designed to yield riches. If you have imagination, this chapter may present you with an idea sufficient to serve as the beginning of the riches you desire. Remember, the idea is the main thing. Specialized knowledge may be found just around the corner. Any corner. Chapter 6. Imagination, the workshop of the mind, the fifth step toward.
Okay, let's reflect now, and we will start chapter 6 tomorrow.
Okay.
Little larger portion we have covered today. So we have started from here. We have covered here. This is actually I want to cover again. There is one weakness in people for which there is no remedy, and that is lack of ambition, that we have discussed in the last chapter. How lack of ambition can actually ruin the whole game. So the aim and the ambition is the main thing which should be always present in our front line, in our imagination, in our reality, like in the physical proximity as well as in the imagination. Then we started from here, yes. So here the author is saying just to keep the record straight and to anticipate the LVs of those who will say I could not go to school because I have a family to support or I am too old. He is giving the example of Mr. Weir, who was past 40 and married when he went back to his school. So it is never too late. That is what actually the author is giving one example and proving it. How successful he was after he chosen this path. Then it pays to know how to purchase knowledge. That means we need to be really sure what in which particular specialized skill I need to invest my time and money and interest.
Yes.
If we are going in the wrong direction, then again it might not be fruitful. So that is also a very important thing. So if it is aligned with the purpose that we have or the interest where our our interest lies and our vocation also coincides with that, then it is the best it is the best combination. The person who stops studying merely because he has finished school is forever hopelessly doomed to mediocrity. So we need not to stop learning, stop reading, no matter what.
Right.
Yes, and that is why we are here and we are reading on daily basis. The way of success,
Yes.
yeah, the way of success is the way of continuous pursuit of knowledge. The way of success is the way of continuous pursuit of knowledge. Knowledge is making us alive, young, and ever young, ever youth. Then here author is saying service equals to the best that money can buy at very nominal cost. So once we are in this drive, we need to think how we can provide the best of the service at least cost possible. So that is the innovation. If we are innovative, we need to find out this combination: best services with nominal cost, and
Yes. Value for money. Yes.
and that will definitely sell, and that will definitely be a successful. If we are providing the best of the quality, but at a very large like fees, then again it's not a very innovative thing. Anyone can kind of not invest, and not many people can take the advantage of it. So we should aim for that at all the time. Then author is saying specialized knowledge plus imagination were the ingredients that went into this unique and successful business. What are the two ingredients? One is specialized knowledge.
Specialized knowledge. Yes. And imagination.
Imagination. Imagination also can be termed as visualization. So we need to acquire the specialized knowledge which is aligned with our interest, and we need to visualize the aim. The lack of ambition should not be there. We should have the aim very much ready, and we should constantly fuel that. And the specialized knowledge will be helpful for us to go ahead and take action in that direction. These two things will make us a business proposition, a unique business proposition, which is definitely going to be successful, going to be sooner or later.
Time is 14
And
o'clock.
then
Please
here
set
author
the
is saying
last
the
hour in
beginning
one
of this successful business was an idea. A simple idea can actually be helpful. One second. In as much as I had the privilege of supplying an unemployed salesman with that idea, I now assume the further privilege of suggesting another idea which has within it the possibility of ever even greater income. So what it says is like, once we are working on one idea, it is very normal that we will be getting further ideas, which we will be kind of on top of the initial idea we can expand. But if we are not taking any action and waiting for the best idea to come, then that will never happen. So it is always prudential to start at wherever we are, and it will come. Then he has given another example where actually it has improved also. How to market his bookkeeping knowledge. So this is one example actually where author is saying he complained he would not know how to market his bookkeeping knowledge after he acquired it. So that brought up another problem which has to be solved. So it is nothing but the problems that we need to focus, the day-to-day real problem that people are facing, and just provide solution, the best possible solution to resolve the burning issues, the day-to-day problems that people are facing, and that's all. there there lies the success. And this particular example also says the same. So even I am surprised, like many apps actually when they get published, they will be having a lot of comments, and in that comments they can find solutions. They can find what the
Apps can improve. Yes.
the clients are facing the issues basically. So if they focus on the improvement from the suggestion that they are receiving it for free actually. But I have seen many a case where they take long time to implement that. I personally have given many feedbacks. Few have implemented in few apps, so that is really great to see that the desired feature has been finally implemented, but the time taken is too huge. So that is.
Right.
So I don't know whether they have some limitation, but yeah, we need to focus on the problems that people are facing, and based on our expertise, how we can offer a service at a nominal cost, that we need to focus, and that is the innovation. Then author is saying the idea here described was born of the necessity. That is what we have discussed just now. Necessity is the mother of invention. And why? To bridge an emergency which had to be covered. Some emergency, something sort of a kind of emergency need was there, and some idea with the kind of a keen imagination. That is what actually the author is using the word keen imagination. The woman who created the idea has a keen imagination. That means we need to have the skill of visualizing deep and keen interest to do it anyway. So if we have that skill, if we have the right amount of desire, curiosity, visualization or imagination power, then definitely we'll be able to come up with some burning solution to a burning problem. Then picture of the exact plan. Yeah, so this is also very important thing. What we can learn from here is the plan book also contain a complete description of the position person desired, together with a marvelous word picture of the exact plan he would use in filling the position. What does that mean is, so we need to market it properly. In that we can give the complete description, and it can be, if it can be kind of in a pictorial way or in a very easy graphical way, where many information can be conveyed in a very quick and efficient way, then it would be easier for anyone to market. So it is not sufficient only to come up with the solution of the problem that people are facing, but also we need to have the marketing skill, how to present it and how to market it. That is also very much important ingredient of the success, and you must be knowing it really better, right, Anandi?
Yes. I do every day. I put post for advertisement.
Yeah, right.
So people will know that this is a, you
Mm.
know, what they are looking for. I know what is my target audience want,
Right.
main thing they want. And then when they call or when I communicate with them, then it will become more clear.
Yes.
Yes.
Mm. Then here author is saying when the plan had been finished, it contained more than half a dozen very fine suggestions for the use and benefit of the prospective employer. That suggestion that we are talking just before. Then one may think that why go to all this trouble to secure just a job. but it is not just a job. That is what actually author is saying and giving many examples and demo that it is much more than that a medical job provides. So doing a thing well never is trouble. The plan prepared by this woman for the benefit of her son helped him get the job for which he applied at the first interview. At the first interview itself, he could actually crack it, and at a salary fixed by himself on his own term, he could get the salary that he wanted. So, which is not possible in any kind of attempt or in any simple preparation that we do for securing a job. And then again, he's saying, moreover, and this too is important, the position did not require the young man to start at the bottom. He began as a junior executive at an executive salary. So even the same thing also we have seen in industry where if a person with master degree comes, or if a person with real vocational knowledge with a management skill comes, then they do not start at a very fresher level. They start at a executive level. So it is about the position, better salary, lesser struggle in the interviews. All these things are the byproduct of doing a thing well. Then author is saying, yeah, the idea of starting at the bottom and work one's way up may appear to be sound, but the major objection to it is this: too many of those who begin at the bottom never manage to lift their heads high enough to be seen by opportunity. So they remain at the same bottom. This is also a very crucial thing. So if we are clever enough or intelligent enough, we can go ahead in the ladder. Otherwise, we will not be able to kind of we will be in the same bottom line only, and there is no promotions kind of. We call it getting into a rut, which means that we accept our fate because we form the habit of daily routine, a habit that finally becomes so strong we cease to try to throw it off. So if we keep doing the same thing again and again and again, we keep getting the same results again and again and again. And if we are doing the same thing and if we are getting the same results, then we are at the same place. How we will be getting promoted to better positions, right? So it is our part to come out of the loop of our own created comfort zone and own created habits. So once we can come over it, step out of it, then only we will be able to see a new dimension of success. Then the author is saying, perhaps he was inspired by the great football coach to aim high. To aim high. Very, very important thing. If we have a very mediocre aim, then also it is going to, the result might be even lower, like even less intense result will be produced. So we need to aim high and not mistake temporary defeat for failure. These are also very important ingredient of or points to remember in our success journey. Keep the aim high always, and whenever the defeat happens, it's a temporary defeat. It's not a defeat actually, it's a feedback. It's not a failure but a feedback. We need to consider like that. For almost 2 years he continued a job not to his liking, and he would never have risen above the job if he had not done something about his dissatisfaction. Many does it, even though they are dissatisfied, they will keep cribbing but they do not do anything. Either we need to accept it and work with our fullest potential to give the best, or if it is really not the thing that we are looking for, then change it, change the profession, change the job, change whatever it is possible. But there is no point in continuing that same thing with dissatisfaction. That will never produce the excellence. Then here author is saying it is difficult to say whether Mr. Andrew or Mr. Halpin is more deserving of eulogy, for the reason that both showed evidence of having an abundance of that very rare quality known as imagination. They both have this ability of in abundance. So we need to check if we have a very good imagination skill or not. If not, then what are we doing to improve that skill? Very, very important skill. Then Halpin deserves credit for refusing to compromise with life by accepting and keeping a job he did not want. And that is one of the major point I'm trying to emphasize. Though through the entire philosophy that we rise to high position to remain or remain at the bottom because of the conditions we can control if we desire to control them. We can control if we desire to control them. If you do not have desire, then that's all not possible. So many pages are there. We just have 2 more minutes, 1.5 minutes actually. Then after that, organized planning. Yes, we have already discussed about the organized planning. I believe that association with one who refuses. Okay, this one we have done. Then one would need to be a fair writer with a flair of advertising and selling. We have just discussed this. How all of these are important. And if one person possesses all these abilities, he might carry on the business alone until it outgrew him. Then the author is calling this as a professional secret. The method by which she accomplished this astonishing result is a professional secret which she discloses to no one excepting to her own clients. This is also a trick by which actually more clients you can attract because they will be more successful. If you have the imagination and seek a more profitable outlet for your professional service, this suggestion may be the stimulus for which you have been searching. So this is also very important. And the last page is there is no fixed price for sound